morning. How are you guys doing, DBS family? I hope you guys are doing wonderful this morning and ready to hit off an awesome day today. Well, got a couple of things to get through, and then of course we're going to come back with our features. First, we need to see what's going on with Kendall. Kendall has got some amazing headlines. Let's see what's going on.
Good morning. St. Lucia is not a rogue state. That's according to Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre in response to questions relating to St. Lucia's citizenship by investment program and the current lawsuit in which the head of the local CIP is named.
No one has been filed. Nothing has been filed. No one has received anything. No documentation has reached into Claude's hands or into Denzil's hands. It hasn't reached anywhere. This is just paper that you're reading, and a man's talking. One man in a civil case. It's like you decide that somebody did you something, and you've taken them to court. This has nothing to do with government. This has nothing to do with the U.S. State Department. Nothing to do with the Treasury. Nothing. It's one man, one aggrieved non-governmental actor taking action against other individuals. That's it. That's it. No case has been filed. These are allegations by one man. And you know, when we go ahead and we castigate people's characters, Claude Emmanuel has been found guilty of nothing.
The Prime Minister has accused the United Workers' Party and its surrogates of colluding with MSR Media to destabilize the country. In other news, the water and sewage company WASCO says heavy rainfall associated with a tropical wave that affected the island over the weekend did not significantly increase water levels at abstraction points. Therefore, the company says restrictions associated with the water-related emergency remain in effect. In addition, the company says damage to the Vanna intake during the weather event are currently under repair. The United Workers' Party says that the government's proposed minimum wage of $6.50 an hour is too low. The opposition is suggesting that the new rate be at least $8 an hour.
The price of bread has almost doubled. The price of fuel is artificially high at $16.50. A tank of cooking gas is high. Every time you go to the grocery store, the prices are higher. We have seen with KFC, we have seen the 2.5% levy imposed by the government. So by the time you look at the $6.50 proposed by the government, it is more than that has been consumed.
There's also a concern that some employers may take the opportunity to pay workers less if they were already paying above government's proposed minimum wage. Finally, from us, the Ministry of Health has activated preemptive systems following the discovery of a measles case in the region. With a number of masquerade activities planned for the coming weeks, the ministry says it is prepared to activate recently completed standard operating procedures for ports of entry.
Measles is considered one of the most contagious diseases in the world, meaning that it is spread very easily when an infected person talks, coughs, or sneezes. One infected individual can infect almost 90% of their close contacts. Being vaccinated is the best way to prevent getting sick with measles or spreading it to other people. According to the World Health Organization, prior to the introduction of the measles vaccine in 1963, there was an estimated 2.6 million deaths annually.
The ministry says various surveillance mechanisms are also being heightened to contain this measles threat. These are your top stories. Thanks for watching. Good morning.
All right, Kendall, as always, thank you very much. Let's take a short break and be right back. Well, climate change. That is the word. It has been the word for quite some time now, but I guess people are a little bit more aware now because they're starting to feel the effects of it. You know, the heat wave that was announced that we are going to be into. Some of you guys can't breathe when the day comes because it's hot. It's just hot for the time there, according to the evolution. But Have we been paying attention? Dr. Fletcher has been speaking for quite some time now. So I thought it was absolutely necessary to go back to Dr. Fletcher again to revisit some of the conversations we were having a long time ago. I'm here with Mr. Jimmy Fletcher, of course, this gentleman. I've heard so much good reviews, and I met him now, and I understand why. He's a lovely guy. Jimmy, I am honored. I am honored even more so to be sitting with you and having the privilege of picking your intellect. So I am very happy. Now, the reason why this time in this capacity we want to zero in on climate change. I know how passionate you've been and continue to be about the subject. Now, we know where we are right now. We're seeing a lot of things happening. Everybody wants to jump down West Coast Road right now because we're seeing a lot of things happening. But guess what? With that being said, less and less we're seeing less rainfall. You know, our streams are drying up. You know, are we now seeing really and truly the reality of climate change? Is that what it is?
I think we are. You know, we've said all along that this would happen. I think probably what we didn't, not we, but many of the people who are now experiencing it, didn't anticipate was the ferocity and just how widespread the impacts would be. But definitely, we always knew that the temperatures would continue to increase, as they have been. We always knew that among the impacts of global warming, which leads to climate change, would be immense water variability, which we're seeing. We knew that we'd have warmer temperatures, which we're seeing. So yeah, and the one that I hope we do not see, but which we expect, is stronger hurricanes, because the oceans have so much more energy to feed off. Our oceans are the hottest that they've ever been. So yeah, we knew these things would happen. I believe that we're underestimating just how bad the impacts will be, because you know, the planet is a living system, and you can't sit at a desk with a computer and simulate what's going to happen with a living system. There are all sorts of feedback. So when this happens, something else. It's like your body. You get a fever, and the longer this fever goes, then your kidneys start to shut down, and your liver starts to be affected, and your heart is affected. It's the same thing with our planet. So yeah, that's what we're seeing right now.
Right. No, I know you're being all diplomatic with me on this, but
I'm trying not to scare you.
I know. I want you to scare me. I want to be scared, because maybe we need to be scared into the reality of where we are and what it means for us as a people.
Yeah, and you know, there's this movie, you know, they say, be afraid, be very afraid. I think that's where we are right now, because we're seeing temperatures that are hotter than the last 9 years, are the hottest 9 years since we started recording temperatures in 1880. 2023 last year blew all records out of the window, because before it was 2016 was the hottest year, followed very closely by 2020. 2023 was every month since June we've set a record for that month. So June was the hottest June. Wow. July was the hottest month period, not just hottest July, and then every month, August, September, October, up to the last one being April. If May is the hottest May, it would mean that we've had 12 straight months of record temperatures for that month. And you just have to look at what we're experiencing now in May.
Well, we've had prediction recently of it getting even worse, the heat strokes and stuff like that.
It will, because we're only in May. So imagine, put your mind forward to June, July, particularly July, August, September, which is the period when we have the hottest temperatures. If we're this hot in May, I shudder to think, or I sweat to think of what it would be like in July or August. So yeah, you know, this is expected. I don't think we've taken it seriously enough, but hopefully this is a wake-up call, and we'll realize. Okay,
can we make a difference at this stage now? Can we reverse anything?
We can't reverse, and you see the problem is, and that's why we always say this is a matter of climate justice, not just so much climate change, because we, the ones feeling the impacts the worst, are not the cause of this problem. The cause of the problem are the United States, the European Union, Russia, most recently China, India. They're the ones emitting the greenhouse gases that are causing this covering over our planet that's getting thicker and thicker, and that's causing the temperatures to increase. So we can't do anything about it, but we have to put pressure on them to do something about it. So every single opportunity we get, we have to impress upon them that you have to do something, because people's livelihoods are being affected and people's lives are being impacted. You know, every time you have a hurricane, people die. Every time you have flooding, people's lives are at risk. So it's all these things we have to look at.
But then they step in and offer so much assistance in climate change relief and this thing.
Yeah,
so
but
that doesn't make sense. No, it's really like a smoke screen.
Yeah, but even what they're offering is a pittance compared to what is required. So last year, for example, we had this COP COP28 that took place in Dubai, and we've been making noise as small island developing states for the longest while that we need a loss and damage fund. Loss and damage fund to take care of those impacts that we can't adapt to. So for example, sea level rise causes your beach that used to start here, your beach is starting here now. So you're losing coastline. There are countries like the Bahamas, some of the islands in the Bahamas, Cayman, countries in the Pacific like Kiribati, Marshall Islands, Fiji, they'll disappear. They will disappear by the end of this century. If we do not do anything, the sea level will rise between 1 and 2 meters, probably 2 meters. And some of these countries, in the Marshall Islands, the tallest point is 1.5 meters above sea level. That's shorter than you and me. So it means that the tallest point, you are taller than the tallest point in the Marshall Islands. So all you need is a 2 meter sea level rise, 6 feet, and that's it. That completely island is gone. So loss and damage is supposed to speak to those things that you can't adapt to. So at COP last year, they pledged $700 million for a loss and damage fund. People said, hey, great, but you know how much money we need every year for loss and damage? $400 billion. So what they pledged is less than 1% of what we require. Then adaptation, the things that you can adapt to. So building higher bridges and putting shoreline defenses and strengthening your water supply and putting in more storage and making your agriculture sector more climate smart. For that, we need between 160 and $300 billion a year.
Gosh.
So yes, they're putting money, but the money they're putting pales in comparison to what we need. So, you know, we're fighting a very difficult losing battle. Now, you asked me earlier, what can we do? There are things that we can do, but they need money. So we need finance for us to be able to do it. And you know, all of our governments are operating in very tight fiscal spaces, and unfortunately what people don't realize, they blame us for having high debt to GDP ratios, and yeah, some of it is because some governments maybe borrow money a little bit too freely, but a lot of the debt that our Caribbean countries are carrying is because they've had to borrow money after a hurricane, after an extreme weather event to recover. In the Bahamas, when Hurricane Dorian hit, Bahamas' debt to GDP ratio the year after Dorian hit went up from 58% to 83% by 25 percentage points. Every time there's a hurricane or a major event in this country, the government has to borrow money to recover. Yes, it'll get some money from the World Bank, and even the money it gets from the World Bank, it still has to repay. But it might get some free money, but the majority of the funds that any government, St. Lucia, Grenada, Jamaica, uses when Grenada had to recover from Ivan, same thing, they have to borrow money. Every single government has to borrow money to recover, and that increases your debt to GDP and leaves you with less space to do the things that you'd like to do. So we're in a vicious downward spiral where climate change is concerned.
That's where we at. But what can we do? Dr. Fletcher elaborates. In closing, what's the send home? Where we at right now? What should we do? Should we rally our governments, or should we send a message for the heads of our countries to really band together and make a greater call and continue to persist that the US and these islands who are creating this problem for us act differently?
We have to do all of the above. We have to, first of all, individually, there are things that we can and should do to make ourselves and our homes and our communities more resilient. So simple things like water storage. Don't build a house if you're not putting water storage at your home. You cannot depend on Wasco to give you water every day of the week for 365 days. It will not happen. It'll get worse. So ensure that you have proper water storage. Hopefully that will last you a week. If Wasco shuts down your pipe, I would say even better than that, 2 weeks. So make sure you have enough water storage. Put a cistern, buy water tanks, government. If there are still duties and VAT, please remove it on water storage devices. Let people do that. Also, capture rainwater. Yeah. So don't depend on Wasco for your water, because it makes no sense, right? For Wasco to take water at a catchment, transport that water to a treatment plant, use energy and human resources to treat that water, make it potable so you could drink it, then use electricity to pump it to your home, and then you promptly flush that water down the toilet. Make it make sense. It don't make sense, right? True. So use your rainwater for flushing your toilets. If you could plumb your house so I can do that, for washing your cars, for irrigating your lawn, for watering your plants, and then use Wasco's water for drinking and cooking. That's the first thing. That's what we can do. Let's stop all the plastic pollution that we have around the place. You might ask, well, what does it have to do with climate change? Well, the more plastics we put in our drains and we just drop all over the place, is the more you clog up your waterways, and every time there's heavy rainfall, it means that water has nowhere to go. It causes flooding. So now at the government level, government now needs to ensure that it factors climate change into everything it does. One of the things I do not like that our government and every single government around the Caribbean is doing, that at the same time in the international theaters, making noise, rightly so, about climate change and something has to happen, they keep allowing more hotels to be built on the beach. Now, if we say that our countries will be experiencing 1 meter, 2 meter sea level rise, where do you think that water is going to? The beach, because that's where all these hotels are. So you're going to have storm surge and sea level rise impacting these properties. Don't put any more hotels on the beach. Put the hotels inland and ensure that you have proper land use plans so that you don't cut down slopes for you to put up buildings, you don't put hard structures, concrete structures without proper means of collecting that water and distributing it out. Then the governments also have to ensure that they don't just talk about climate change around COPs, because around November, December, everybody's talking climate change. It's the only thing people talk about. Then, so what happened in January, February, March, April, May? There's no climate change? There is. So let's ensure that we continue to speak climate change and continue to do something about climate change. So every time the Minister of Tourism has a meeting with one of his counterparts in the Caribbean, or as ministers they meet together, or the chief medical officers get together, please ensure that climate change is on that agenda, because climate change is impacting tourism, it's impacting health, it's impacting agriculture. You know the number of farmers who've had to abandon their farms because they just can't get any water. And even worse yet, these temperatures are so hot that you can't do anything. And plus, it's not healthy for a farmer to be out 8 hours during the day in this kind of temperature. And the same thing for construction workers, same thing for fishers. So climate change is impacting everything. So make sure that we factor it into our decision making. And then finally, our governments need to lobby more strongly, more vigorously, where the international community is concerned. Because if not, it doesn't matter what we do, we will find that all of this will be unraveled by the impacts of climate change. When you have people falling over from heat stroke. I was talking to a vet recently, and he said to me that he's seeing people bringing in their animals, their dogs, because this heat is just too much, particularly for people who have dogs chained up outside. All of these things, you have to make sure that your dogs have enough water. So, we don't think about this. We're living in a totally different world right now. It is changing. It will continue to change for the worse. So we have to ensure that we understand that and we do what needs to be done so that we can adapt to it. I'm really sorry for the kids coming up. We are leaving for you a worse planet than the one we got from our parents. Yeah. That shouldn't be our legacy, but that's what it is. And that's why I want to get young people invested in this. In fact, next week, we're bringing together young people from around the Caribbean. My project, Solorica, bringing together young people from around the Caribbean in St. Lucia for 4 days to discuss climate justice and discuss sustainable energy, because we need to get the young people's voices in there. Right. They have a vested interest in this, but they also have a lot more passion than you and I have, because they have more energy. Mm-hmm. And I think the more we can get them talking the way Greta Thunberg talks in Sweden, we need to get 1,000 Greta Thunbergs in the Caribbean speaking, going to meetings and drawing attention to what's going on and just how unfair what the international community is doing to our young people here in the Caribbean, and they're making their lives a lot worse than it ought to be.
Absolutely. Mr. Fletcher, oh gosh. Thank you so very much for flourishing us with this wonderful, healthy conversation on the topic this morning.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Recently, we got a call. We got a call. One of the parents from the Marsha Combined School has got 2 students that is aligned to the Marsha Orchestra, right? And they've got a lovely program there. I knew of the program before, but getting a first-hand insight with Teacher Tench and seeing the kids playing and understanding some of the ways that we can assist as a society was a different look. It changed my perspective, and I hope you're going to feel the same way after you look at this. Ange, that was beautiful. That was absolutely breathtaking. And they're so small.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Tell me about the program at the Marshall School.
With the program, we have students from kindergarten to grade 6. As you can see, our youngest player is Jace.
All right.
He's in kindergarten, and most of our students are from the grade 2. We have grade 1, we have grade 3, and grade 6.
Wow. Tell me about the initiative. So, I mean, this is cello. And this is, I'll get it right?
We have the
Cello. That's what cello.
Cello, we have
Violins,
violin,
right.
and the viola, right here.
Right. So that's 3 different instruments here. You don't get it twisted. You have to understand the
Missing
thing.
the double bass.
We're missing one.
It's very expensive, so we don't have it in the orchestra.
Okay, well, it's a good thing because we're here because we understand how vital this program is. So many of the grassroots children are part of this program here at the school, and they're very good. And you know what? If we as corporate and the St. Lucians can come together and probably help in that department to be able to donate some of the things, because a lot of the students don't have the instruments, right? They don't have it personally.
It will be greatly appreciated.
Right.
So
what do you need, man? Come on, talk to us. Let's talk about it because this is vital.
We need more instruments.
Right.
We need more cellos and especially more violas. We only have 1 viola in the orchestra. A few years back we had, I believe, 2017. We got some instruments donated to the school through the Ministry of Social Transformation. We started the orchestra then, but during COVID the orchestra stopped. And when we resumed physically, I had to restart the orchestra. So that's why we have mainly fresh students in the orchestra. We're roughly 3 years old with the orchestra, yes. Some students joined at K, then we had some joining at the second year.
Right.
And we have students for a month.
Right. Now speak to, as a teacher, a part of an institution of that nature, how is this helping the students? And you know, why should persons see the need to be able to assist in any way that we can to ensure that this program stays alive?
As we know, music is very important. Just look at us. Without our heartbeat, music starts with us, you know, the pulse from our heart, that's music right there from God. So it has its benefits. The moment you pick up an instrument to practice, it ignites sections of the brain.
Right, and the development of the children themselves at such a young age, their brain capacity.
It's important to start at a very young age. So for example, me being the music teacher at the school, I teach music from pre-K to grade 6. And I allow the students to at least start with recorder. And we make our own, homemade percussion instruments. So we have buckets, and strings being my forte, it's a must to have the string program, the BCG String Orchestra here. And benefits like a long life skill, it helps with discipline, it helps with their grades. Some of them get higher grades. When we check it from each term, they improve. It engenders community spirit. For example, last year we had a fundraising music concert. So just imagine the number of students we have here. When they invite their parents invite their family and their friends invite. So we had a great time last year, and we're looking forward to have this concert this year again, November, just to help us raise some funds so we can get more instruments for the students. The growth of the program is dependent on the availability of the instruments. So as soon as I get one, I recruit. So right now we're stuck. We have a list of students who want to join, but there's nothing I can do, sadly. So, you know.
And we, not to mention, we could be brewing some brilliant musicians to add to the fabric of St. Lucia moving forward. Music is definitely taking precedence.
I always encourage them to take it serious. You don't know how far you will reach with the music. For example, we just had our jazz festival, and I explained to them literally, our voice is an instrument, right? Mm-hmm. So just imagine we have the artists coming from all over the world coming to sing in St. Lucia. Just your voice, and you can just make thousands. Instruments as well. We have people like Jab Duplessis, who's amazing, and I experienced this young guy being on stage with him, putting his best forward. So that's the future of strings in St. Lucia when it comes to the violin, viola, cello, and bass.
Wonderful.
With God giving me the strength, I will try my best to make it happen.
Wonderful.
for them.
How again, put out the information. If persons would like to assist, how can they do so?
Well, they can contact our school, Bishop Charles Gashi at RC, Bishop Charles Gashi, RC Primary School. Our email address is marshacombine@gmail.com, or they can contact me personally, Pearl Tench, at 519-7097. Anything you can do to assist, monetary, instruments, accessories, especially bows, rosin, strings, will be greatly appreciated.
Excellent, wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Tench, and thank you for putting in so much effort into this with this young one. It must not be easy because these are young people. They tend to, their attention span is quite short, and you've been working with them so much so to get them to, settle down and be so instrumental in playing those songs. They play us at least 3 songs, and they're remembered. So you've been doing an awesome job. Let me big you up too.
Yes, I would also like to thank you, Ms. Maureen, for contacting the school, DBS, and especially the students we have here. We get support from the parents a lot. So I must commend the parents for keeping them at it, and also my past principal, Mrs. Rubin, and we have Mrs. Lewis, who is here with us, our principal, and she's on board. She's going to help us make it happen for the orchestra, and also we have the support of our staff as well. That is very important, because if I didn't get the support at the school, administration and what have you, it will not happen.
Wonderful.
Yes, so we are very privileged to have the support.
All the best moving forward, and God be with you and guidance.
Thank you.
Certainly.